Why settle for a regular smart plug when you can elevate a whole outlet to the next level with Eve Energy Outlet? There's more to it than just doubling your smart plug capacity. It's about minimizing clutter and achieving a sleek, streamlined aesthetic in your smart home. Like most Eve products, this uses Thread and works with Matter, so as long as you have a Thread border router and/or a Matter controller for your smart home of choice, then you can expect this technology to work for years to come, which is kind of important here because it's a hardwired device. And because it's hardwired, it means it's a full thread device, so it can actually improve the stability of your Thread network by acting as a repeater to extend the range of your other Thread devices. In today's video, we're diving deep into the installation of Eve Energy Outlet. We'll unveil its features, including energy monitoring, and explore various use cases to spark your imagination and maximize the potential of this innovative device. Let's jump into it. If you've been following me for a while, then you've heard me rave about Eve Energy on multiple occasions. In the realm of smart plugs, Eve Energy consistently outshines the competition. Yes, it may come with a higher price tag, but when it comes to reliability, it's an investment that pays off, especially for those hard to reach corners where consistent performance is paramount, like my fireplace, which is connected to Eve Energy, controlled effortlessly with the flick button. Now, the debate around Matter is ongoing, and I've faced my fair share of hiccups with Matter devices in Apple Home. However, Eve Energy has proven to be an exception. Whether it's an existing device that's been upgraded to Matter or an out-of-the-box Matter option, trust me, the synergy here is real. Cracking open the Eve Energy Outlet box reveals more than just a Matter code. It unveils a nicely designed wall plate with the simple Eve logo along the bottom. I've been slowly converting my home to screwless wall plates, which is an easy and inexpensive way to elevate the design of my home. I'll share links in the description to my favorites because not all are created equal. You can see it's just 3 wires: line, ground, and neutral. Most homes have neutral wires, but some older homes don't, so make sure your wiring is compatible before purchasing. You also get some screws and wire connectors. Installation is a breeze. If you've installed a smart switch before, then you'll have no problems with this. Eve includes step-by-step instructions and also link Eve's easy-to-follow installation video in the description. But as always, if you're not comfortable, leave it to the experts. To install, cut the power at the breaker, then remove your existing outlet from the wall, then take Eve Energy Outlet, making sure that you first remove the cover plate, and connect the black line, the green ground, and the white neutral wires to the provided MAR connectors. Push it back into the box, making sure not to disconnect any of the wires, and then screw it back into the wall. As with smart switches, this can sometimes be the most challenging part of the installation. You can then press on the front cover and then turn on your power. Now try turning on the outlet to make sure that you've installed it correctly. You'll notice a couple of buttons between each outlet. These buttons not only work manually to turn the outlet on and off, but it's also an LED light indicating that it's turned on. The left LED is for the top outlet, and the right LED is for the bottom. Once you've confirmed that Eve Energy Outlet has been properly installed, it's time to add the device into your smart home. You can set this up directly in the app for your ecosystem like Alexa, Google, or the Apple Home app, though Apple Home users can also set this up in the Eve app. The Eve app is a free app loved by HomeKit users for having some advanced features like conditional automations and utilize additional features like energy monitoring. Within the Eve app, you can go to Accessories and then click Add Device. Scan the Matter code and then follow the prompts until completed. Then it's ready to use. I can now control this in the Eve app, I can use the Home app, my HomePod, I can create a schedule or an automation. I'm using one outlet to control my Divoom Pixu 64. This is a really fun pixel art display that connects using Wi-Fi, so you can use the app to find some pretty amazing designs. Though it doesn't work with Apple Home, so I've gotten around this by adding a smart plug. I have it on a schedule that turns on in the morning to my default design, then turns off with my Apple Home goodnight scene. I love that I could save a little space on this wall by removing the smart plug and adding this outlet. For the bottom outlet, I'm using a space heater. During the winter months, it can get a little chilly down here in the morning, so now I can create an automation to turn it on in the morning and then set it to turn off once my basement has been warmed up. Matter allows you to connect Eve Energy Outlet to Apple Home, SmartThings, Alexa, and Google Home, as long as you have a border router, and you can see a list of compatible border routers right on the Eve Energy Outlet box. For Apple Home, it's compatible with most, but not all Apple TVs. Either the Apple TV 4K second generation or the current Apple TV 4K that's 128GB with Ethernet. So just a note that the 64GB Wi-Fi version will not work here on its own. Also the HomePod Mini or the second generation HomePod that came out last year. If you're using Apple Home but you want to use this on another ecosystem as well, then you just need to ensure you have a Matter controller for that other ecosystem. I'll include a link with more details in the description. From Apple Home, go to the settings of the device and then open pairing mode to get a new code. I'm showing the pairing mode from Apple Home since that's what I'm using, but it's a similar process for other smart home ecosystems as well. You just need to open the pairing mode from the app in which you first installed the device. Let's talk about some uses for EVE Energy Outlet, which would be the same as for a smart plug, but in this case, you're eliminating that bulky external plug. This outlet will turn any ordinary item that turns on when it's connected to power into a device that you can control in Apple Home or your ecosystem of choice. Conversely, devices that require you to hit a power button after it's connected to power will not work. For example, some coffee makers. If all you need to do is turn off a device, then this would work as well. Common uses are making electric heaters, fans, accent lights, and lamps smart simply by plugging them into EVE Energy Outlet. Humidifiers, dehumidifiers, air purifiers, and many other devices can also be made smart in the same way. It's a great way to save money and energy. One of the most practical uses for me is using these during the Christmas season with various holiday lights that I have around the house. I've already talked about the reliability of EVE Energy, but some other smart devices are unfortunately not so dependable. If a device isn't working, then typically a reboot is simple enough to do, but if it's in a hard to reach area, then sometimes it can be a little bit more challenging. What you can do is connect that smart device into an EVE Energy or EVE Energy Outlet, and then just turn the EVE Energy off in order to reboot the device. I know it seems a little redundant, you're paying to add a smart plug when you've already paid to add a smart device, but if that area is really hard to reach, then just being able to turn EVE Energy off can be a really simple way to reboot that device and get it back working in Apple Home. I also like to use smart plugs as dummy switches for various automations. I turn my lights green or red instead of white during the holidays when a particular smart plug is turned on, though I'd probably reserve that more for a smart plug that I can hide than an actual outlet. I do have a full video on this topic that can really elevate your smart home automations, so I'll link that video in the description. I should also mention that just because it's smart doesn't mean it can't be used like a regular outlet for general purposes like plugging in a toaster or blender, as long as you keep the plug turned on by default so it's ready to use whenever you need it, unless you really want to turn it on each time, that is. It's rated for up to 15 amps, so it'll work with most of your appliances. There's so many uses for smart plugs. Let me know in the comments how you're using smart plugs in your smart home. EVE Energy also has energy monitoring so you can see how much power your devices are drawing. You have to do this from the EVE app. You can see your total consumption, cost, and projected cost. EVE estimates the rate based on your country, but you can edit the rate by going into Settings, General, and Energy Cost. You can also export into a CSV for a more in-depth analysis. It's truthfully not a feature I pay much attention to, but it's nice to know it's there. What's a little unusual though is the energy monitoring isn't separated by outlet. So if you have multiple devices plugged in, you can't see what each device is drawing, only the combined. Perhaps this will be updated in the future. Other settings available in the EVE app include a child lock. You can adjust when the LED comes on and the brightness. You can also adjust the transmit power, which is an interesting feature. So if you have a home hub nearby, then you could save a little power by having it set to low, or increase the power for further away devices to default or high. I have 4 HomePods within about 10 meters, but personally, I'm going with high to ensure top performance. There are some times, of course, where this product may not work. As mentioned earlier, you need a neutral wire, so if you don't have one, well, that's an easy one. But it's hardwired, completely stuck in place. Sometimes it's great to be able to move smart plugs around the house. Maybe have it connected to a fan and then you want to move that around. Well, it's gonna be a lot easier if you have it on a smart plug. During the holidays, I also sometimes have a power bar plugged in with several smart plugs that I need to be able to individually control. So just some things to keep in mind. My experience in testing has been limited since this is a new device, but I haven't had any issues and I don't expect I will. I think it would be nice if EVE fit a couple USB outlets in there, maybe a USB-A and USB-C, and bonus points if they're smart as well, but even if they're not, it could be helpful for charging devices. I would also like to see an updated EVE Energy Strip release that uses Thread and works with Matter, preferably with more than just the 3 outlets that it has right now, and again, some USB connections would be great. EVE Energy Outlet isn't one that I was expecting, but it's admittedly a nice addition. It's available now in the EVE Store and Amazon for a reasonable $50 US. Aside from the holidays, I don't use a lot of smart plugs, but I do like to have the option. If I was building a new home though, I'd consider using Eve Energy Outlet for all of my outlets. Well, most of them. I'm drawn to products that not only have great aesthetic, but also consistently deliver on performance. This has made me a loyal Eve user long before my YouTube channel. Eve was an early adopter of Thread and Matter. With their experience focused on innovation, they've been at this a long time and they know what they're doing in this space. I'm excited to see what Eve has to offer us later this year. What we do know is that Eve Switch, a device that only works with Apple Home right now, has a Matter version slated for release later this year. Existing Eve Switch devices with Thread will also be able to upgrade to Matter around the same time. As of last December, you can upgrade Eve Motion blinds to Matter. These blinds use Thread and they work great. I'll link my video in the description to learn more. I also have this new Eve Motion blind that I recently installed, and I've been testing this for a couple of months with Matter, and so far it's worked perfectly without any issues. I hope you enjoyed this video on Eve Energy Outlet. Share your thoughts and any unique smart plug uses you have in the comments. Your creativity might just spark some new ideas for someone else in our ever-growing smart home community. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.